There's a hidden reason why some men seem to effortlessly draw women in, while others find themselves stuck in an exhausting cycle of chasing, overgiving, and being overlooked. It's a silent paradox where effort alone backfires and presence speaks louder than words. Every man who's ever tried too hard knows the sting. The more he invests in pursuit, the faster she pulls away. But here's the hard truth. Most never hear this isn't about being richer, taller, or better looking. It's not even about confidence in the shallow sense. What truly separates magnetic men from invisible ones is the psychological frame they carry, a mindset that flips the entire dating script upside down. Women don't just respond to appearances, they respond to energy, emotional posture, detachment, purpose. They are drawn to men who live in alignment with a deeper code. Not boys who perform for approval, but men who move with quiet certainty and self-command. In this video, we'll explore 5 Machiavellian rules of attraction, not as cold manipulation, but as wise, strategic self-possession rooted in understanding human nature. These rules aren't tricks. They are reflections of a deeper truth. When you stop seeking permission to be chosen, you start becoming the one who is naturally remembered. This isn't about texting tactics or image management. It's about becoming the man whose silence lingers longer than another man's words, the man who doesn't chase because he leads. Each of the 5 rules you're about to learn is designed to awaken a dormant power within you, a way of seeing, thinking, and carrying yourself that changes everything. Once you apply them, you won't need to impress. You'll simply embody a presence that women instinctively respect, desire, and can't quite figure out. This isn't about attraction, it's about transformation. Number 1. Why chasing her makes you invisible. There's one truth that flips the entire dating game on its head. The more you chase, the less she sees you. That statement might feel harsh, even counterintuitive, especially in a culture that romanticizes pursuit, constant texting, and always being available. But think about it. In nature, the lion never begs the gazelle to love him. He commands respect by simply being what he is: powerful, present, sovereign. This is not about becoming cold or manipulative. It's about reclaiming your value. It's about shifting from desperation to direction, from approval-seeking to inner power. This is where the Stoic man begins, not by reacting to her moves, but by mastering his own. Women are naturally drawn to energy that feels anchored. A man who needs nothing radiates everything. The paradox of attraction is this: the more you chase her, the less magnetic you become. Why? Because chasing exposes a psychological truth, your need for external validation. So the real question is not, how do I get her to want me, but rather, why am I giving so much of myself before she's even earned it? Now, imagine this scenario. 2 men show interest in a woman. One bombards her with texts, compliments, and availability. The other builds his life, replies when he can, and makes space for her, but doesn't revolve around her. Guess who she becomes curious about? Guess who feels like a challenge, not in a game-playing way, but in a way that signals substance? Chasing isn't just a behavioral mistake, it's a mindset error. It tells her you don't believe your presence is valuable enough for her to come toward. And in doing so, you send the message, "I'll prove I'm worth it," instead of "I already am." According to Marcus Aurelius, you have power over your mind, not outside events. What does this mean in the realm of attraction? It means you don't control her reaction, but you control your energy. Jung would call this the confrontation of your shadow, the fear of rejection, the insecurity of being alone, the wound of not being enough. You cannot charm your way out of a shadow you refuse to see. Men who chase are often men who believe that love must be earned through pleasing. But true attraction is not negotiated through service. It is commanded through self-respect. Now, let's clear a common misunderstanding. Choosing not to chase isn't about playing hard to get. It's about being hard to shake because you're rooted in something greater than her approval. You're rooted in your mission, your purpose, your truth. Here's your shift. Stop asking, "Is she losing interest?" Start asking, Am I losing myself? The man who stops chasing is not giving up. He's rising up. He's placing his time, his energy, and his love in the hands of someone who shows effort, not someone who tests his worth through absence. Because, in the end, you don't want to win someone over through exhaustion. You want to be chosen freely, as you are undeniable, because you've become whole without her. Now, speak out and comment below. I don't chase, I build and let her choose. Number 2. The seduction of mystery. Why silence speaks louder than words. Most men believe that the fastest way to build intimacy is to reveal everything: hopes, fears, past traumas, dreams, goals, all in the first few dates. They think vulnerability is magnetic, but there's a problem. Oversharing doesn't create connection, it often kills attraction. Why? Because mystery is the emotional oxygen of romance. Without it, curiosity dies, and when curiosity dies, desire fades. Let's look at this closely. Imagine you walk into a room and someone immediately starts explaining their entire life story. Childhood, breakups, drama, pain. There's no build-up, no intrigue, just a flood. You might feel sympathy, but you won't feel chemistry. Now, reverse that image. A man enters, calm, deliberate. He answers questions without rushing. He listens more than he speaks. He hints at experiences but doesn't unpack them all at once. She leans forward. She wonders what he's not saying. She walks away still thinking about him. That's attraction born from restraint. Mystery isn't about deception. It's about pacing. It's about allowing her to discover you piece by piece, not through performance, but through presence. When a man shares everything too soon, he erases the space where mystery can grow. But when he leaves room for silence, questions bloom. Jung might say, this is the dance of the anima, and animus the interplay of masculine depth and feminine curiosity. The masculine doesn't rush to reveal. It radiates presence and lets the feminine explore it. Stoic philosophy aligns perfectly here. Seneca taught, speak only when it improves the silence. In the dating world, that wisdom becomes this: not every silence must be filled. Not every question must be answered immediately. Your silence, if anchored in confidence, is not emptiness, it's gravity. Think about how the world functions. The most valuable things are hidden. Gold is buried. Diamonds are forged deep underground. So when you make yourself emotionally accessible to everyone instantly, you break the natural law of value. You become too easy to reach and therefore easy to forget. Social media makes this worse. Men post everything: gym routines, mood swings, memes, heartbreak confessions. They're trying to be relatable, but in reality, they're giving away their edge. The man who doesn't overshare online immediately stands out. He isn't hiding, he's protecting his energy, and women feel that. A real example: 2 men date the same woman weeks apart. One tells her how heartbroken he is from his last relationship, how much he fears abandonment, and how ready he is to settle. The other mentions he values connection but leaves details for later, asking her questions instead. Who holds her attention longer? The one who lets her participate in discovering his depth, not the one who downloads emotional weight prematurely. The truth is, women don't want to solve you. They want to explore you. They want to earn your truths, not be handed them all at once. And when a man values his emotional privacy, he invites her to earn the right to enter his world. That's the most seductive form of respect you can offer. So don't rush to be known. Don't fear being misunderstood at first. Allow space. Let mystery do its job. In a world that shouts, the whisper commands. Now, comment below. I protect my silence. It makes me unforgettable. Number 3. Emotional control is power. Why she tests you and what to do about it. She cancels a plan last minute. She takes hours to reply to your message. She says something teasing, just enough to sting, and you feel it rising. That twist in your chest, the urge to call her out, to seek reassurance, to ask, what's wrong? Pause. This is the moment she's watching for, not because she wants to hurt you, but because she wants to see you. not just your face or your body, but your center, your control, your core. Emotional control isn't just attractive, it's essential. It's how she knows whether you're a man or a boy. Let's go deeper. In Stoic terms, Epictetus said, "It's not things that upset us, but our judgments about things. A canceled date isn't rejection. A delayed message isn't war. But if you interpret them as threats to your self-worth, you'll spiral and she'll see you unravel." Jung would call this a shadow trigger. Unacknowledged fears rising to the surface, fear of abandonment, of not being enough. When unexamined, these shadows drive emotional reactivity, and nothing dissolves attraction faster than a man whose emotions are hijacked by every minor disruption. Women test you emotionally, not out of malice, but to find your emotional gravity. Can you hold your center while she spins? That's the question her subconscious is always asking. A man who reacts argues, complains, demands signals insecurity, but the man who notices his emotions, acknowledges them without acting them out, and continues his day unshaken, he becomes magnetic. Real-world example. A woman texts, "Sorry, I can't make it tonight." "Maybe next week," the insecure man replies. "Why, what happened?" "Are you mad at me seeking validation?" The grounded man says, "No problem, let me know when you're free." Then he goes to the gym, he reads, he builds. He doesn't let a change in plans shake his foundation. Women feel this strength. It's not the coldness of apathy, it's the calm of self-respect. She doesn't want a man who's dead inside. She wants a man whose fire is so controlled, it warms the room but never burns the house. Here's a subtle truth. You don't need to control her. You need to master yourself. When you do, her chaos doesn't disturb your peace, and that's when she starts leaning in. Because women don't chase men who chase feelings. They're drawn to men who carry silence like a sword. Train this daily. Feel the emotion rise and breathe. Wait 5 minutes before replying to any emotionally charged text. Speak less when you're angry. Let your stillness be the boundary. Over time, you'll notice something strange. The more centered you are, the fewer tests arise. Not because she stops trying, but because she senses that your center cannot be moved. So next time the test comes, don't react. Observe. Smile inside. You're not just passing a test, you're radiating leadership. Now, comment below. My calm is stronger than any storm. Number 4. Set the standard. Why respect is earned through boundaries, not pleasing. There's a moment in every man's life when something feels subtly wrong, not because she yells, not because she cheats, but because she quietly stops respecting him. She begins to tease him in ways that sting. She cancels plans without apology. She jokes about his dreams. And he lets it slide, afraid of seeming too sensitive. In that moment, he doesn't just lose her admiration, he begins to lose himself. Respect is not an emotional reward you receive for being nice. It's not something you can buy with flowers, long texts, or patience. Respect is a response to strength, specifically, the strength to maintain calm boundaries and self-worth, even when it's uncomfortable. And yet, many men trade that dignity for attention. They confuse pleasing with love and silence with peace. In today's dating culture, men are often taught that being tolerant, flexible, and endlessly available is the way to a woman's heart. But that's a lie rooted in fear, not love. True attraction is not about chasing or caving in. It's about holding your frame like a mountain, unshaken even when the emotional winds blow. Women don't test you to torment you. They test to feel the edge of your integrity. And if your boundaries are unclear, she will instinctively push further, not out of cruelty, but to feel if there's something solid in you worth trusting. When you avoid confrontation to keep the peace, you don't get peace, you get quiet resentment. And it leaks. Your smile gets thinner, your enthusiasm fades. You begin to self-censor. You start wondering if you're too needy, too weak, too much. But the real issue isn't you being too emotional. It's you suppressing the masculine energy that is meant to protect your sense of self. This is where Stoicism steps in. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. When someone disrespects you, your greatest strength is not to lash out or walk away in anger. It's to calmly enforce the standard. A man who does not need to raise his voice to command respect is magnetic. He speaks once, sets a boundary clearly, and lets his actions follow without drama." For example, if a woman mocks your ambitions in front of others, a weak response would be to laugh it off, hoping to keep things light. A strong response would be something like, "I don't joke about your dreams. I'd appreciate the same respect." And if it happens again, you distance yourself not to manipulate, but to maintain your standard. This is not about ego, it's about energy. Jung called it shadow work, the integration of your denied assertiveness, the part of you you were told to hide, to be good. But when that shadow is repressed, it doesn't disappear, it turns into passive resentment, emotional outbursts, or low self-esteem. The cure: bring it to light. Reclaim your inner no. The truth is, women feel safest and most alive around men who respect themselves first. Not because these men dominate, but because they don't dissolve into people-pleasing. A woman doesn't need you to orbit her. She wants to be pulled into your gravity. That only happens when your boundaries are clear, quiet, and consistent. You don't need to say much. Boundaries are felt more than spoken. When you say, "I don't chase flakiness," and she senses you mean it, she'll either rise to meet you or fade. Both outcomes are wins. You're no longer bending. You're no longer begging. You're no longer molding yourself to fit into her chaos. Instead, you become the calm center, something rare, something compelling. Imagine two men. One texts after being flaked on twice. "No worries, just let me know next time." The other says, "Let's plan when it's more certain. My time matters." Guess which one she respects? Guess which one she remembers? Respect is never accidental. It is not given, it is earned through demonstration. If you don't teach people how to treat you, they will teach you how little you matter to them. And no one forgets a man who knows his worth, not through anger, but through anchored presence. So what do you do now? First, identify your non-negotiables. What behaviors drain your soul? Write them down. Second, communicate them clearly, but only once. Don't justify, don't explain. Third, be willing to walk. That's not weakness, that's real power, the kind that doesn't need applause. Only alignment. In relationships, attraction fades not when love disappears, but when self-respect does. A man without standards is not a mystery. He's an open book, edited by everyone else's expectations. But a man who values his time, his peace, and his purpose becomes unforgettable. Not because he tried, but because he refused to betray himself. Number 5, stay sovereign. How freedom and focus make you irresistible. In a world where many men lose themselves in the pursuit of love, there's one silent, unshakable quality that separates the magnetic from the mediocre sovereignty. This isn't arrogance, it's not detachment or emotional coldness. It's the inner clarity of a man who knows where he's going and doesn't bend that path for anyone. A man who is centered, focused, and free emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And ironically, it's this very freedom that makes women chase him. Let's get one thing straight. Women are not repelled by ambition. They're repelled by neediness disguised as attention. A man who orbits her world, constantly asking, "What do you need? Where do you want to go? Am I doing enough?" might think he's being caring, but he's actually dissolving his presence. The sovereign man doesn't ask how to be chosen. He builds something worth joining. And because of that, he's not just desired, he's remembered. Imagine two men. One drops everything when she texts. He cancels plans, ignores his work, and constantly checks if she's happy. The other, he responds, but he never detours from his mission. If he's working on a project, he finishes it. If he's reading or meditating, he stays present with that. And when he gives her his time, it's not out of guilt, it's out of grounded choice. She doesn't feel entitled to his attention. She earns it. And that subtle difference, it's everything. This is the core of sovereignty. You don't abandon your direction for desire. Your goals are not placeholders until someone loves you. Your habits, your discipline, your vision, these are not hobbies. They are the spine of your life. And when a woman senses that strength, she doesn't feel ignored. She feels drawn in. Jung would call this individuation the process of becoming whole. Not just a role, not just a boyfriend, not just someone filling a space in another's life, but a complete, evolving soul who invites others to grow alongside him. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, your mind is your kingdom when your time, your energy, and your focus revolve around your deeper purpose. You walk like a man with gravity. Let's be clear, this isn't about being selfish or emotionally unavailable. A sovereign man is generous, but never self-sacrificing. He's empathetic, but not indulgent. He listens, but he doesn't abandon his path to rescue someone from their own emotional chaos. He's not rude, he's rare. And this rarity is deeply attractive. Why? Because most men trade their mission for approval. Most men lose momentum the moment they fall in love. But the man who keeps building, who keeps moving, who keeps sharpening, he creates polarity. He's the still mountain she wants to climb, not the ground she walks on without noticing. Here's what sovereignty looks like in real life. He finishes his gym session even if she calls mid-rep. He texts her later. He doesn't cancel his weekly reading time or journaling ritual just to prove he's available. If she flakes or becomes inconsistent, he doesn't chase, he recenters and moves forward. He doesn't seek her emotional cues to feel like a man. His validation comes from within. This isn't about punishment, it's about priority. You are not here to be the background of someone else's story. You are here to build the kingdom only you can rule. And when you do that, when you show up with passion, presence, and purpose, she doesn't just want your attention. She wants to be part of your mission. That's the difference between a man who chases approval and a man who leads with vision. So what can you do now? Reclaim your schedule. Block off time for the things that build you: reading, training, building, learning. Protect that time like sacred ground. Audit your priorities. Are you living for her validation or your deeper calling? If you vanish today, what legacy would remain? Practice saying no, not to hurt, but to protect what matters. Each no to distraction is a yes to your soul. This is not just dating advice, this is life strategy. Sovereignty is the fire in your spine that says, I will not break for attention. I will become who I'm meant to be, no matter who stays or goes. And when you live like that, love finds you, not because you begged, but because you became the flame others can't ignore. Number 6, from pain to power. Why rejection is the beginning, not the end. Rejection is not just a moment, it's a mirror. A mirror that reflects who you thought you were and who you still have the power to become. For most men, rejection feels like the end of possibility, of value, of identity. But what if it's the beginning of transformation? There's a reason why Stoics like Marcus Aurelius wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. It's not just poetic, it's brutally practical. The pain of heartbreak, abandonment, or feeling like you were never enough is real, but it's also raw material, firewood for the forge. What you do with that pain determines whether it breaks you or builds the man the world hasn't met yet. Too many men waste heartbreak. They turn it into poison. They scroll social media, drown in resentment, binge distraction, or run to the next woman to fill the hole. But the man who pauses, who looks at his bruised ego and wounded heart and says, let's build something from this, becomes someone no storm can destroy. Pain is a call to direction. When she left, when you were ghosted, when she said, you're just too nice, that wasn't the universe punishing you, it was redirecting you. It was stripping away the illusion that love is earned by compliance or effort. It was asking, what do you really believe about your worth? You see, pain brings clarity. It exposes where you abandoned your purpose for someone else. It reveals how much of your self-image was built on being accepted instead of being authentic. And it forces you to stop waiting to be chosen and start choosing yourself. This is where growth begins. It's in the early mornings at the gym when your body aches and your heart still hurts. It's in the silence when you choose a book over the dopamine trap of texting her again. It's in the discipline of doing what you said you would do even if no one is watching. That's where the new man is born. Let me make this real for you. Imagine a man fresh from heartbreak who decides he will not let this define him. He starts waking up early, he journals, he lifts, he studies something deeply. Maybe philosophy, maybe business, maybe art. Day by day, he sharpens his focus. He doesn't chase attention, he becomes the kind of man who commands it by presence alone. Women begin to notice, but he's no longer desperate for their gaze. He's already enough, and they feel that. This is not fiction, this is a blueprint. The pain is the fuel, the habits are the structure, and the result is a life rejection can never shake. Jung would call this alchemy, turning the dark, unprocessed emotions into gold. Individuation, becoming whole through fire. Stoicism calls it resilience, and both agree. The man who rises from rejection with purpose becomes untouchable not because he's hard, but because he's whole. If you're in the middle of heartbreak now, hear this. You are not broken. You are being broken open. There's a difference. One leaves you shattered. The other remakes you into someone who no longer begs to be seen because your light can no longer be ignored. And what's the outcome? When love does find you again, because it will, it finds a man who doesn't need it. A man who gives from strength, not scarcity. A man who no longer asks, "Do you love me, but are we growing together?" So, if you're hurting, good. That means you're alive. But don't let that pain rot inside you. Put it to work. Let it train your discipline, sharpen your vision, and carve out your character. You're not meant to stay on your knees. You're meant to rise. Now, comment below. My pain is not my prison, it's my path. Number 7. The magnetic shift. Why choosing yourself attracts everyone else. There is a moment in every man's life when he stops asking, "How do I make her stay?" and starts asking, "How do I build a life I wouldn't want to leave?" That moment changes everything, because it marks the shift from neediness to sovereignty, from chasing to attracting. When you choose yourself, you stop orbiting around others and start becoming the center of your own gravitational field. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop seeking approval, that's when others begin to offer it freely. The moment you stop trying to be chosen, you become the man people don't want to lose. Why? Because sovereignty is rare, and rare is always valuable. This isn't about arrogance or emotional coldness. It's about identity. A man who chooses himself doesn't wait to be validated by a partner, a boss, or society. He knows who he is, and he builds everything else from that foundation. Women feel this deeply. They can sense when a man is whole, when his presence isn't laced with hidden motives or desperate energy. He's not trying to impress, he simply is. He's not offering the world to win her over. He is the world she wants to enter. That's magnetic. Schopenhauer, despite his bitterness, pointed toward a truth most men feel but can't articulate. Chasing love is futile. It's like chasing your shadow. The more you run toward it, the more it retreats. But when you stand still, rooted in your path and power, it comes to you. So what does it look like to choose yourself? It means waking up with purpose, not for someone else, but for the mission you've defined. It means training your body not for validation, but because strength is your standard. It means reading, learning, and thinking deeply, not to sound smart, but to become wise. It means saying no to distractions, drama, and disrespect because your time is sacred. This doesn't mean you don't love. In fact, it's the opposite. You love more clearly, more freely, because you no longer fear loss. Love becomes a gift, not a transaction, and people feel safer in your presence because you're not trying to possess them. You're inviting them to walk beside you. Jung would call this individuation, becoming who you were always meant to be, unshaped by others' expectations. Stoicism calls it virtue, living in accordance with your nature, aligned with reason and inner strength. Together, they form the blueprint of the magnetic man. That man doesn't panic when someone pulls away, he doesn't beg, he doesn't break, he observes, he reflects, and he continues building because his validation isn't rented, it's owned. And here's the final truth. When you choose yourself every single day, the right people, those who recognize your value, will choose you too. Not because you asked them to, but because they saw a light they didn't want to lose. So let the chasers chase, let the doubters doubt. You build, you lead, you rise. Now, speak out and comment below. I choose myself, and that's why I'm unstoppable. When you embody this mindset, you no longer move through life seeking permission to be seen. You move with the quiet power of someone who already knows he matters. You don't chase, you draw people in. You don't fight for approval, because your presence already speaks louder than effort ever could. Think of the most magnetic men you've admired, whether in film, history, or life. They don't rush to prove themselves. They don't plead for love. Their strength lies in what they withhold as much as in what they reveal. Calm, focused, unapologetically grounded. That's not just charisma, that's sovereignty. And here's the truth. You don't have to be famous to carry that energy. You just need to live by a different code. One where you lead yourself first. One where your silence has meaning. One where your boundaries, not your words, shape the world around you. These Machiavellian principles aren't about playing games. They're about rising above them. They don't turn you into someone else. They refine you into the man you were meant to be. Composed, strategic, desirable without effort. Because real attraction is never about chasing. It's about commanding attention by becoming rare. If this message resonated, pass it on. Share it with someone who's still trying too hard to be liked. Subscribe for more content that goes deeper than cliches. And remember, true power isn't loud. It's silent, steady, and unforgettable.